What's going on, guys? X here, back at you for another Dokkan battle video, and today we have all the details revealed for Yamcha, and also we're getting a new Yajirobe alongside him as the banner unit, which is pretty exciting. Yajirobe does need better representation into the game. Currently he literally just has, I believe it's an R unit, so this Yajirobe actually looks very good. So we'll take a look at him in a minute. Yamcha here looks very good as well. His stats are a little bit low. That is one thing I do want to point out, but I think his kit sort of makes up for it. Let's check out the animations here, and then I'll give you guys my thoughts and the breakdown on what I think of these characters. So to start, let's check out Yamcha and Yajirobe's animations. Hold on, let me reload the page. I don't know why it does this. Twitter's stupid. Okay. Alright, you guys. I already know there's going to be people on the timeline, on the Reddit, in the community player base is going to be saying those animations are ass. I can already see it coming. I think they're fine. I think those animations, they're definitely not top tier, obviously, but for what it is for Yamcha, I think they look good. I'm not going to be negative on them. I think they're fine. Yajirobe's are a little bit basic, but you know, it's just a sword slash. Like they don't have a lot to go off with him, right? So I think overall the animations are fine. Let's go ahead and check out the details here for both Yamcha and Yajirobe, and let's see what they're looking like here. So Yamcha is actually introducing a new category into the game, Warriors Raised on Earth, which is basically just the Z Fighter category that we've been asking for, right? I would imagine that category would include all of your Gokus, your Piccolos, pretty much everyone except Vegeta, pretty much. I mean, I don't know if they're going to throw Vegeta on the category. I mean, technically he's not really raised on Earth, but he kind of grows. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to put him on the category. We'll see. But overall, you know, I think the category is pretty solid, to be honest. And then he's also saying Saga category is 3 key, 170% to stats, and then the extra 30% goes to Earthling category. So, you take a look at this leader skill for 200% meta leads, and I don't know where I'd have this leader skill here. I think the Saiyan Saga category right now is pretty weak, to be honest. A lot of their releases, you know, just the characters haven't been as strong as they should on release. And then the Earthling category isn't really up there in terms of you know, top tier premium categories in the game right now. So overall, I think despite, you know, the new Warriors Raised on Earth category, depending on how good that category is, I think if you take a look at this leader skill here, I think it's sort of on the lower end of 200% leads here, if I'm just being honest. You know, Yamcha's stats are a little bit low as well, so keep that in mind. But, you know, we'll have to see what the category looks like. Overall, the leader skill isn't, like, horrible, but I don't think it's one of the better leader skills, unfortunately, for 200%. So, super attack effect here, Wolfing Kamehameha. Raise attack for 1 turn, so no defense. That's very unfortunate. Remember, these bosses these days are just hitting so hard. You really want the extra defense on super. It's just so beneficial. So, Yamcha not having that is going to hurt him in a little bit, but his passive, you guys will see here, will make up for that. So he also has a high chance to stun on super. So again, good for like Battlefield, Super Battle Road, any area where that's applicable to make use of that stun. Definitely very valuable. So there's that. His passive here, you know, he has an entrance animation that'll play during the first attacking turn if there are 5 or more Warrior Raised on Earth category allies on the team. and then excluding this character, and then he also gains 2 ki, and then attack and defense 150% for 4 turns. So remember, that is they do want you to run him on a full Z Fighters category basically, which makes sense, right? Make use of this new character on his own team. That's sort of the way they've been handling these new recent releases with these new categories, right? Right, he also gets 2 ki, additional attack and defense 50%, gains an additional attack and defense 30% for every attack performed. So he has to super attack 5 times to build that up. He also has a medium chance to perform a critical hit, a high chance to evade enemy attacks, perform an additional attack that has a high chance to become a super attack, and perform another additional attack that has a high chance to become a super attack during the same turn in which an enemy attack was evaded by this character. So if he dodges an attack, he gets another additional super attack on top of the already additional super attack that he has in his passive. I mean, this guy could, dodge. He gets 90% dodge chance, and then he could super attack 4 times. Like, this guy's actually looking really good. If you're able to get that part of his passive active with the dodge, he can actually look pretty good, I think, if you are on a full Z Fighters team. So he is sort of restricted in that way. But again, in this character's right situation, he can look very effective. Alright, so he also gains an additional 10% chance to evade enemy attacks for each super attack performed during the turn. So if I'm looking at this guy's kit and I'm thinking about hidden potential build, I'm sort of leaning on like additionals and dodge for this character. Dude, people are gonna look at this character and think he's mid, but you can't undersell that dodge ability that he has. That's just so critical, especially when these bosses are just doing 1.5 plus million damage. Dodge is really what saves you nowadays. Back when, the hidden potential was like first introduced in the game, dodge didn't mean anything. I mean, it was literally just like crit and that was it. Like, additionals were okay, but crit chance was really like where all the value lied when the hidden potential first came around. But the game has just evolved so drastically now, where you need these characters to be taking these big time hits. Dodge is really what's going to save you outside of events where dodge is not able to be used. You have to have like other things besides just like high stats, right? You have to have damage reduction, you have to have dodge. Scout is always helpful. These other Mickey Mouse mechanics that we always like to say, are just, they're so valuable on these characters, right? Especially for these premium characters that come out these days, right? So overall, this Yamcha I think is very good. He also has an active skill here. The condition can be able to be used once 4 or more attacks have been evaded, or when all allies attacking the same turn belong to the warrior raised on Earth category, right? So remember, you do want to run this Yamcha on his own team for him to look at his best, I feel like. So his active skill here, ultimate damage, and then all attacks guaranteed to hit during the turn of activation. So they've been giving this effect, to a lot of characters recently, guaranteed to hit, which I'm not the biggest fan of. I would honestly prefer if this was just a guaranteed crit instead. I think that's just a much stronger ability. I mean, most of these bosses don't really dodge his super attacks that often outside of like Battlefield. There's a couple resin stages where the enemy can dodge, but I feel like for the most part, guaranteed crits on active skill is just a much stronger ability. You're just gonna be doing a lot more damage that way, right? I mean, I think this Yamcha is already gonna be putting up pretty good numbers with all of his additionals, right? Especially if he can get that dodge in. He's looking very solid, I feel like. So one problem with this Yamcha is again going to be his links and his categories here. So he's on Turtle School, solid support, infighters, Z-fighters, shocking speed, Kamehameha for this battle, and then he's also, with his categories, he has warriors raised on Earth, aka Z-fighters, Saiyan Saga, Earthlings, Turtle School, Worthy Rivals, and Kamehameha. So again, Saiyan Saga isn't really that good of a category, unfortunately, just because of how they've handled the releases. Earthlings, this is probably going to be his best spot, if I'm going to be honest. Turtle School with all the Gokus, I'm not so sure. Kamehameha, he doesn't have a spot on, just with his links, and there's no way you're running on this character. And then maybe you could probably get a situation in on Worthy Rivals for Yamcha, but I think he's going to be pretty restricted to, you wanting him to be ran on his own team. I think that's where he's going to look his best. So, it is a little bit unfortunate that he's a little bit limited, it seems like, just because of, the way his passive is structured. But I think in this guy's best situation, this guy, I probably would have him somewhere around, I think he's definitely a top 5 TUR. I'm not so sure if I'm putting him up like against the Gammas or even like, Path Power Kid Goku. But he's in the mix for sure, right? I think he's better than Bardock for sure, just from what I'm reading. We'll have to see what he looks like in game, but just based off the kit alone, In words, I like what I'm reading here. I think this Yamcha is very good. So let me know what you guys think of him in the comments down below. But let's actually go ahead and check out Yajirobe here and see what he's looking like as well. Because I do think this Yajirobe is very good as well. So Yajirobe's super attack effect here, massively raises defense for 1 turn and then causes supreme damage, and then he seals as well. So he actually does get defense on super, which is very vital. Especially, as I mentioned in today's meta of the game, you need that extra defense on super attack. It's just so critical. Now the leader skill is actually not mentioned. Gresh, I think, forgot to put it in his text here, but his leader skill is the new category. I think it's of 130%. So definitely not viable, but you're not running this guy in the leader slot anyway, so don't worry about his leader skill. But I do think they need to sort of get rid of the 130% leader skill because it's just not viable in today's meta. Like, you need to be at 170% and up at the bare minimum. At the bare minimum, I feel like. So Yajirobe's passive here, he gets 3 key attack and defense 150%. All allies 1 key attack and defense 30% other than this character gain an additional defense 120%, and all allies other than this character gain an additional 1 key and attack and defense 20% for 3 turns when collecting key spheres on the third attacker as the third attacker in the turn. So what's crazy is, he's giving support. He's going to give 50% support, and he's also giving support on the rotation that he's not on, which is so valuable. Oh, dude, this Yajirobe already is like really good, I feel like, because he's getting a lot of buffs at the start of turn, right? And then if you have him in slot 3, he's still supporting, right? He's not going to be on the rotation, but he's still supporting. So like, that's just so valuable. I feel like you can't undersell that. He also gains an additional attack 150% and a great chance to perform a critical hit when performing a super attack as the third attacker in the turn. So obviously you want to run this guy as a floater, for him to be at his best. He also has a great chance to evade enemy attacks after receiving an attack as a third attacker in a turn. So I'm looking at this Yajirobe, and I feel like you could probably just go full dodge on him. He has crit chance in his passive already, so if you want to throw in some additionals, I guess go ahead. But I feel like this is a defensive character more than anything, right? Like you're really just running this Yajirobe for his support more so than anything, I feel like. So this Yajirobe looks very good. He also survives KO attacks, and then he also recovers 10% HP at the end of turn. So I believe that's actually a new mechanic, surviving KO attacks. I'm not sure if we've seen that on any other character thus far. So I'm not sure how that exactly is going to work. Like, if you die, you just get an extra turn or something, I guess. He's pretty much just like a Senzu Bean. That's actually very strong, with him recovering HP as well and supporting. This Yajirobe is really good. He might be a top 5 banner unit for free. I'm just going to throw that out there. He seems very good. He also has an active skill here, able to be used once 5 or more turns have elapsed. And then, there's another Z Fighter category, ally attacking the same turn, and HP is 40% or below. And what it does is it fully recovers your HP and all status effects from your allies, which is massively important. Like, that's actually such a good active skill ability, and just a full heal and then recover all status elements. Just depending on the fight that you're in, I think that could really save you. The condition isn't like super good. Having to be under 40% HP is tough, but again, these red zone bosses and these Somax, these guys do so much damage that oftentimes, more often than not, like your HP is pretty low. At least from like what I've found from recent red zone stages is like you go in and they're opening up with a super attack more often than not. So I mean, you're going into turn 2 and 3 under 50% pretty commonly, I feel like. So it's definitely you're definitely at low HP way more now than you were back in the day, right? Like, back in the day, you were just sweeping events, right? I still remember when like nuking was really like the meta, and it's really just not that anymore. Like, defense is just so, you have to prioritize defense now. When you're doing these tough, difficult events. So one big problem with the Yajirobe here is going to be his links. They are terrible. Flee, Coward, Infighter, Tough as Nails, Solid Support, More Than Meets the Eye, and Fierce Battle. He only shares 2 links with this new Yamcha, so keep that in mind. They share Solid Support and Fierce Battle, and that's it. So, I mean, you are going to have this guy in slot 3, and you probably want Yamcha in slot 1, maybe. So they're not really going to be linking anyway, but this guy is supporting Yamcha, right? So if you are deciding to pull for Yamcha, you really want to try and grab a copy of this Yajirobe as well. I think he's going to be he's going to be a very important player on the new Z Fighters category, right? Like, you want this Yajirobe for sure. He's a very good unit. Categories here: Warriors raised on Earth, Earthlings, Saiyan Saga, and Saviors. So again, not a lot of categories. You're not running him on Saiyan Saga probably because of his links. Saviors, no. Earthlings, maybe. And then Warriors raised on Earth is probably where you want to run this guy, right? Just to get that active skill condition, right? That could really save you. So I think Yajirobe here is a very good banner unit alongside Yamcha. But those are the details for Yamcha and Yajirobe. Let me know what you guys think of these brand new characters. And with that, that is going to do it for this one. Thanks guys for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.